It seems like these days, everyone's always telling us keep everything squeaky clean,
Yeah.
sanitize this, disinfect that.
Right.
But what if I told you that letting your kids get a little muddy
Uh-huh.
might actually be good for them?
It sounds a little counterintuitive, I know.
Right.
But there's some really fascinating science behind it.
Okay.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into a commentary by 2 scientists published by CNA.
Okay.
And it really all comes down to how playing in the mud
Uh,
can actually strengthen your child's immune system.
okay. I'll admit, the idea of my kids, digging in the dirt doesn't exactly make me jump for joy.
I get it.
We've been taught to avoid germs like the plague, right?
Right. But think about this. Mud isn't just dirt.
Yeah.
It's absolutely teeming with microscopic life.
Okay.
We're talking billions of bacteria, fungi,
Wow.
and other microorganisms in just a single gram of soil.
Billions with a B.
Billions with a B.
That's incredible.
Ah.
That's like a whole,
Oh,
like an ecosystem under our feet.
Yeah, it's amazing.
No wonder kids are drawn to it.
Exactly. And all that diversity is
Ah.
key
Well,
for
that's-
something that we call immune training.
Immune training.
So imagine your child's immune system
Okay.
as a security guard learning to identify threats.
Okay, so the more faces that security guard sees
Yeah.
early on, the better it gets at distinguishing between,
Yeah,
a harmless visitor and a real danger.
exactly.
Okay.
So for example, think about pollen.
Okay.
Some people, their immune system just totally overreacts to it,
Right.
triggering allergies.
Yep.
But other people, their immune system recognizes pollen as harmless.
Okay.
It's totally fine and doesn't cause a problem.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So early exposure to like a wide range of microbes, basically,
Yes.
helps the immune system calibrate its responses.
That's a
Yeah.
perfect way to put it.
Okay.
And that's exactly where the hygiene hypothesis comes in.
The hygiene hypothesis.
A hygiene hypothesis.
Tell me more.
This basically suggests that our modern obsession with
Okay.
cleanliness might actually be backfiring.
Really?
By creating these super sanitized environments,
Uh-huh.
we're actually depriving kids
Oh.
of the microbial exposure their immune systems actually need to develop properly.
So you're saying like all those antibacterial wipes and hand sanitizers
Uh-huh.
could actually be making our kids more vulnerable.
That's the idea.
Wow.
Kids growing up in urban environments
Oh, yeah.
with less exposure to, nature and animals
Yeah.
can be up to 50% more likely to develop things like asthma and food allergies.
Wow.
Now, it's not a direct cause and effect.
Go on.
It's a correlation, but
50% is a pretty big number.
it is a big number, and it's not just allergies either.
Okay.
This lack of exposure to microbes could make kids more susceptible to things like the common cold and other infections.
So it's like their immune systems haven't had the chance to
Yeah.
build up those defenses.
Exactly, like sending them out without any trouble.
Well, that's a good way to put it.
And there's even some emerging research that suggests that this early microbial exposure, or the lack of it, could potentially increase the risk of developing autoimmune conditions
Okay.
later in life.
Things like
So things like type 1 diabetes or rheumatoid arthritis,
Okay.
where the immune system actually mistakenly attacks the body's own tissues.
Okay, that's concerning.
It is a little bit concerning.
Really making me rethink my whole approach to cleanliness.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something earlier about kids who grow up on farms.
Yes.
They tend to have lower rates of allergies and autoimmune issues.
Right.
So is that because they're exposed to
That's the thinking.
okay.
They're exposed to a much richer diversity of microbes from a very early age.
So it all comes back to that immune training.
It does.
The more diverse the microbes,
Yeah.
the more robust the immune system.
You got it.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
And it's not just about the quantity of microbes,
Right.
but also the specific types. For example, there's a bacteria found in soil called,
Bacteroides fragilis.
Bacteroides fragilis.
Bacteroides fragilis.
What's so special about this one?
Well, Bacteroides fragilis actually helps our gut produce a substance called PSA.
PSA.
You can think of PSA kind of like a peace treaty signal
Interesting.
that helps keep our immune system from overreacting.
So this little bacteria is helping to keep inflammation in check.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
And it's just one example of the beneficial microbes we can find in mud.
Wow. Okay.
There's another one called Mycobacterium vaccae that's been shown to have some pretty amazing effects.
Mycobacterium vaccae. Now that name rings a bell.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some research about it, like boosting mood or something?
You're exactly right.
Okay.
Studies have shown that Mycobacterium vaccae can actually reduce inflammation and even improve mood by influencing the production of serotonin.
Okay.
You know, the happy chemical in our brains.
Hold on. Are you telling me that playing in the dirt could make my kids happier?
Yes.
Sign me up.
There's definitely some promising research in that area.
Okay.
But even beyond immunity,
Yeah.
mud play offers a whole range of developmental benefits, too.
It's not just about the germs. It's about, like,
Yeah.
the sensory experience of, like, getting your hands dirty,
Yes.
exploring different textures, connecting with nature.
Exactly. Mud play is like a sensory wonderland for kids.
I love that.
It allows them to touch, smell, and manipulate different materials,
Uh-huh.
which stimulates brain development
Okay.
and helps them build emotional resilience.
So we're talking about, like, building well-rounded little humans,
Yes,
not just fighting off sniffles.
exactly. And don't forget the stress connection.
Okay.
Studies have shown that stress can actually suppress the immune system.
It can?
So anything we can do to reduce stress in our kids, like encouraging outdoor play,
Yeah.
can indirectly support their immune health.
Okay, so we've established that a little dirt is good,
Yes.
but I'm sure you know what's coming next.
Uh-oh.
How do we balance this newfound appreciation for microbes with basic hygiene? I mean, I don't want my kids getting sick either.
Of course not. That's a great question, and it's a question that every parent grapples with.
I bet.
But the good news is you can promote healthy microbial exposure
Okay.
without compromising basic hygiene.
Okay.
It's all about finding that sweet spot.
So give me the dirt, so to speak.
Okay.
What are some practical tips for parents who are ready to embrace the mud,
Yeah.
but still want to, keep things reasonably clean?
Well, first of all, choose clean play areas.
Okay.
We want our kids digging in the dirt,
Yeah.
not in potentially contaminated spots.
Okay.
So think about your home garden parks
Yeah.
or even designated nature play areas.
I never even thought about it before.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe a soil testing kit could be a good idea,
That's a great point.
especially if you're not sure about a particular area.
It's all about empowering parents to make informed choices.
Right.
And speaking of choices, let's talk about clothing. Waterproof gear is your best friend when it comes to mud play.
I can just picture those adorable little waterproof overalls.
I know.
Full coverage for maximum mess-making potential.
Exactly. That way they can get as muddy as they want and
Yeah.
clean up as a breeze.
Because let's be real, no one wants to deal with, like, a car full of mud-caked clothes.
No, nobody wants that.
And, of course, we can't forget about good old-fashioned hand washing.
Absolutely. But here's the key.
Okay.
We emphasize hand washing after play, not before after.
Okay.
Let them get those hands dirty,
Uh-huh.
explore, and then wash up thoroughly afterwards.
So it's not about avoiding dirt altogether.
Yeah,
It's about finding that balance.
That's it.
Gotcha.
We're not saying ditch the soap and water,
Right.
but rather that a little dirt isn't the enemy that we've been led to believe.
Right.
In fact, it might be one of our greatest allies in building strong, resilient immune systems.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Oh, good.
I think we've all been conditioned to, like, fear germs.
Right.
But it turns out a little dirt might be just what the doctor ordered.
It might be.
Ah.
What are your thoughts?
Hearing all of this makes me think about, like, those carefree days of childhood, running around barefoot, building forts in the woods.
Yeah,
Like, we've come a long way from that, haven't we?
we have. And maybe it's time to reevaluate our relationship
Yeah.
with cleanliness and nature.
I think so, too.
Yeah,
But where do we go from here?
that's a good question.
How do we reconcile this need for hygiene with the benefits of microbial exposure?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
Yeah,
But maybe that's okay. Maybe it's about finding what works for you and your family.
absolutely. It's about understanding the science and making informed choices that feel right for your situation.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about. What about you?
I know, me too.
Is there anything that's really stood out to you?
What's fascinating to me is how this whole discussion about mud and immunity
Yeah.
really makes us confront our relationship with the natural world.
Yeah.
We've created this artificial separation between ourselves and nature,
Right.
and we're only just beginning to understand the consequences.
That's such an important point.
Oh,
We're so disconnected from the natural world these days.
I know.
I mean, think about it. Like, how often do you really get your hands dirty?
Not nearly enough, I'm afraid.
Right.
And those consequences that you mentioned, they extend far beyond just our physical health.
Right.
There's a growing body of research
Sure.
highlighting the mental and emotional benefits of spending time in nature.
It's like we've forgotten that we're part of nature, not separate from it.
Yes.
And maybe reconnecting with that primal part of ourselves is essential for our well-being.
I couldn't agree more. this deep dive into mud and immunity has really been a journey
Yeah.
of rediscovering our place in the natural world.
I love that.
And it's left me wondering, how can we create a world where kids can experience the joy and the health benefits of playing in the dirt while still navigating,
Right.
the realities of modern life?
Right.
It's a delicate balance, but I think it's one worth striving for.
I think you've hit the nail on the head.
Yep.
It's about finding that sweet spot between necessary hygiene and healthy exposure to the natural world.
Exactly. And it's a question I'll leave you with today.
Okay.
How can you, in your own life, find that balance?
It's a good question.
It's a question that deserves our attention, our curiosity, and our willingness to get a little messy along the way.
Well said.
Yeah.
This deep dive has definitely given me a new perspective on dirt,
Agreed.
and I hope it's done the same for you.
Me too. Yeah. And it makes you wonder, how can we create a world where kids can experience the joy and the health benefits of playing in the dirt while still navigating the realities of modern life?
Exactly.
It's a delicate balance, but I think it's one worth striving for.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's about finding that sweet spot between necessary hygiene and healthy exposure to the natural world.
Exactly. And it's a question I'll leave you with today.
Okay.
How can you, in your own life, find that balance?
That's a good question.
It's a question that deserves our attention, our curiosity, and our willingness to get a little messy along the way.
Well said.
Yeah.
This deep dive has definitely given me a new perspective on dirt.
Good. I'm glad.
And I hope it's done the same for you.
Me too.
This deep dive has really challenged how I think about dirt.
Yeah.
I used to just cringe at the thought of my kids getting muddy.
Right.
But now I'm really starting to see it in a whole new light.
I know. It's amazing how just a little bit of knowledge can totally shift our perspective.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I love how you frame this whole conversation as a journey of rediscovering our place in the natural world. It's not just about mud.
Right.
It's about reconnecting with something that we've really lost touch with.
Exactly. And that reconnection can take so many forms. It could be gardening, hiking, or even just spending time in a park.
Right. Even something as simple as walking barefoot on the grass
Absolutely.
can be a powerful way to reconnect with nature.
It's about finding those little moments that allow us to ground ourselves,
Yeah.
to feel the earth beneath our feet, and just remember that we're a part of this incredible web of life.
This deep dive has really left me with a sense of hope.
Oh, that's great.
Hope that we can find that balance.
Yeah.
That we can raise healthy, resilient kids who aren't afraid to get a little dirty.
Right.
And that we can rediscover the joy of connecting with the natural world.
I share that hope, and I believe that by understanding the science and embracing these new perspectives, we can create a healthier and happier future for ourselves and for generations to come.
So to all the listeners out there, I encourage you to embrace the mess, explore the outdoors, and maybe even get your hands a little dirty.
Get out there.
You might be surprised by what you discover. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of mud and immunity.
Thanks, everyone.